Hey, it's your girl Barbie J here, and we are back with another episode of Our Kind of People. Our Kind of People. Season 1, Episode 10, Just Desserts. And I gotta tell you, I liked this episode as well. But I was upset about the ending and how it ended. But we all know that Angela brought it on herself because she can't help herself the way she reacts. She reacts and she doesn't think first before she reacts. She needs to zip her mouth sometimes. I mean, I'm not saying she needs to stop and let them walk all over her, but sometimes you need to wait until you get what you want to get or need to get before you open your mouth and say something. So anyway, before we get started, shout out to everybody who's been holding down my channel. Thank you very much to my subscribers and my non-subscribers, all my commenters. I appreciate your support. Now, if you have not subscribed to my channel as of yet, please take a moment right now and hit that little subscribe button. It's right there in front of your face. Hit that subscribe button. We're going to help Barbie J's channel grow this year. And then we're going to share. We're going to share the videos and we're going to pass it along and we're going to hit the like button with the thumbs up and we're going to write a comment so she knows that you're there. I need to know that you're there. That's right. And after you subscribe, if you wish to know every time I upload a new video, make sure you hit that little notification bell and it'll take you there. I'll take you there. Do, 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 do. It'll take you there. That's right. The notification bell will take you there. I don't know why I'm feeling like in a singing mood today. But anyhow, it starts off with Aunt Piggy coming in the door while Nate and Angela dancing, doing the old school dances, you know, trying to show Nikki, because Nikki acting like they can't dance, and they were showing them their kid and play what they got. And Piggy came in there and she, you know, Angela could tell something was wrong. And she informed her about her, you know, meeting with Teddy and that they were making amends. But, you know, she feels that she's not the only one suffering, that Tyrique is also suffering behind this of what went down years ago with Piggy killing Darius and Tyrique's dad killing himself. And it was all wrapped up into one thing. So she tells Angela to make sure, you know that she don't lose sight of Tyrique. He's worth holding on to. And Angela says she realizes that. And she also told Angela, because Angela said when she see Teddy, she going to get in his face about blackmailing you. And she was like, no, don't do that. Do not poke the snake, as she put it, because he'll go back in that hole and you won't know whenever he's going to come back out. So she said, what am I supposed to do? She said, just bide your time and hold your tongue, which we know Angela just doesn't know how to do, and that's what caused her position. But we, you know, and I felt bad for her, but she brought it on herself. So she told her, Piggy told her, you got to get close enough and pin that snake down when you bite her throat. So she was trying to give her some advice that, well, she failed to listen to. So they showed Teddy is allowing Tyrique, you know, to pitch his stadium idea to the investors, I believe it was. And then after the meeting, he asked Tyrique to go do him a favor, you know, and go to the precinct to pick it up. He's some important papers from Jack Carmen's belongings. He said it deserved a more personal touch. And he said, please be discreet when you do that. And I'm sitting here going, look at Tyrique's face when he does that. Tyrique's like, why you got me doing that when you can get a courier, you know? But I'm sure he's feeling some kind of way about that. Then we have Raymond, you know, and Leah are talking, and she's looking at pictures of him and Jack when they were younger. And he sits down and asks her, he said, you know, why is it that Lauren assumed that you had an affair with Jack? And she explained in detail everything that went down and what happened. And then he said, well, I know well about those ambush kisses. He said, basically what your sister saw when his ex had kissed him. So the next thing you know, Raymond's phone is ringing and he's like real busy, and Leah's telling him, you need to, I know he was your friend. He was the closest thing you had to a brother. You need to process that. He was like, I'm too busy. I need to do this and need to do that. So he told her, I need to get that paperwork for the transfer of shares that Jack had in his possession before he died. He said, so if I could get to it before Teddy executes the contract, all of Jack's Darman shares will revert back to him, and he would get his business back. And I did see kind of a face on Leah, but not that it was a major look, but I did notice something, But anyway, I think it was more of she's concerned that he's not mourning the loss of his friend, who actually started becoming an idiot at the end. And then what else happened? So we know it's bid week, and Angela needs to be selected to get Eve's crown, noticed, and getting an investor and all of that stuff. And so they get another task that they have to do, and they have to do some type of make something sweet, and it has to be a family recipe, and they have to bring in something sweet, a family recipe, and talk about why it's important and how it became a part of their family. So while all of this is, they're talking and stuff, Angela is staring at Teddy. She just keeps staring over there at him with her legs shaking like she want to go over there and say something and start something after Piggy told her not to. Don't do anything. So Leah finished and came down and was talking to her, saying how she put her mother-in-law on snack duty and she can't mess with Angela's bid. And she was like, are you sure? She's like, no, I got it. She can't bother your bid. She said, you're on a fast track, not only to get a bid, but also an investor. So, Angela was happy about that. But she told her, you must stay focused. And at that moment, that's when Teddy comes over to congratulate Angela. And he puts his hand like on her shoulder to touch her shoulder or back or something. She goes, don't touch me, or something like that, real loud. And everyone turned around and she pushed his hand away. And Leah's shocked, and she basically made a scene because everyone saw it. And she goes, I'm sorry, Leah, I have to go. And she runs out of the place. But everybody's staring at her. She just had to make a scene. She was waiting for this moment instead of listening to what her aunt told her to do, But that's Angela. And she worked and worked and worked until she was her own worst enemy. To me, in this episode, she was her own worst enemy. No matter how you feel, sometimes you need to hold it in until you get, like I said, what you need from the people. So Leah shows up to Angela's house and, to assist with if she needed any help with the bacon. I guess she saw that something was wrong, so she probably wanted to check on her sister. And she also told her how she admires how Angela puts her daughter always front and center. And she said, I guess your mother was that same way with you. And she shows her the picture of her mother and her mother, Angela's mother, Leah's mother, and Olivia together. And she's like, my mother tried out for membership. She said, yeah. She said, and then she goes and her dreams was crushed once she was arrested, and she was like, what are you talking about? And she's rehashing that whole thing. And she said, look, because they almost started to get into argument. She said, look, Leah, our father has a secret and I think he's terrified. I'm going to find out. And she's probably right about that. And then the next thing that happened was we got Tyrique meeting with Aunt Piggy. And she told Tyrique that she had lied to him earlier. And she broke everything down to him, everything that happened. He asked her questions. She answered as much as she was willing to tell. She admitted later to Angela that she didn't tell him everything. But she told him a good amount of what he needed to know and wanted to know. So that's how he learned that Darius worked for his father to do, she said sometimes to do his dirty work for Teddy. And she let him know she don't think his father would have taken his own life unless he had something really terrible weighing on him. And he was asking her, well, why didn't you tell me this before? She said, because I had my own demons and I wasn't ready to deal with them yet. So I couldn't tell you what was going on. So Tyrique basically understood and thanked her for all the information that she gave him. Then Raymond goes to the precinct, figuring he gonna talk to the captain and see if he could get that paperwork, that he needs. And the captain informs him that Teddy already sent somebody to pick up that paperwork. But look at the captain or whoever he is. He looks familiar. Is he the one from the Oval? From Tyler Perry's The Oval? Is that the same police officer who, when Barry was in there and trying to get his stuff and he had the money? I think that's the same one. He looks so familiar. But anyway, so Raymond ends up running into Tyrique with the paperwork, and he was being nice to him and stuff in the hallway and trying to be cool. And Tyrique is like wondering why. Tyrique was having an episode. He got nervous. He started shaking while he was at the precinct. That's what it was, because he remembered himself there early as a child, younger as a child and stuff. And Raymond gave him some water and was trying to calmed him down a little bit. But then Tyrique, came to and kind of snapped on Raymond. Then he asked to see that paperwork that he was carrying. He said, I knew it was something, that what you wanted, something from me. You never even talked to me. We'd be at the same parties and stuff. He said, you still that same fake-ass rich kid that you were back in boarding school. I was like, wow. I mean, Tyrique was just like, he wasn't drunk. He was sober. And Raymond, Raymond felt guilty because he was telling, they talked about childhood and how in school when stuff was missing in the dorm, they blamed the poor black kid. And you could count on one hand how many black kids was in the school. And Raymond never stood up for Tyrique. He should have had his back, but he never did. So that's why Tyrique feels this way about him. In the meantime, Piggy goes there and tells them that she's going to go turn herself into the precinct and about the murder of Darius, because she can't stand the guilt and everything. And they're trying to tell her to think about it, pray on it first before she does that, because it's not, and Nate was trying to talk to her and let her know about losing her freedom and everything, so she could make a better informed decision of what she really wants to do. And then they show that Leah goes to see her mother. And she's talking to her mother, and she's trying to find out what happened that night that Eve got arrested and for the drugs. And her mother, even though she's got the Alzheimer's and stuff like that, she was remembering some stuff, but she didn't want to talk about it. She started having an episode when it was mentioned to her. And just so happens Teddy comes in at that time. So I'm trying to see if she was at the house or was she at that facility, but she did lose it on her, and Teddy got mad at her and told her you shouldn't have said anything. And now he told her Angela is a problem and you need to do your part in getting her out of Oak Bluffs, that Angela needs to go. But her mother did say unspeakable things happened that night that she could not talk about. So Leah admitted to him what she wanted to know about that night his mistress ended up in handcuffs, and he said he didn't have anything to do with that, and that he had gotten Eve the best attorneys in Boston, and they released her. But now that it seems that Angela can't leave the past in the past, I thought welcoming her into the family would stop it, but she's just no longer welcomed in this family, and she's no longer welcomed in Oak Bluffs. And you need to get rid of her the way that you can get rid of her, or the way that I get rid of her will be worse. And Leah just rolled her eyes, and you could see they're red like she wants to cry. Olivia comes in there and starts talking to Raymond, and she started nagging him, and he informs her that the police know that there was another female in the room. They're trying to find out who it was. They could smell the perfume, and there was something else that they realized it was another woman, but he made up an excuse why, to the police officer or detective, whoever, that, Jack used to have like call girls or something like that coming into his room, but we don't want that news to get out. We don't want the family to hear about this stuff, especially having it in the news when they're about to make a large contribution to the police department or whatever it is. And he was like, oh, no, we don't want to do that. So they're going to keep it hidden because when money talks, when you start making large donations, people know how to shut up. So it's the day of competition and everybody's going around tasting the different recipes, the sweet recipes. And, Angela lets them know that her mother wasn't a cook. She wasn't a baker. She didn't bake things. She spent most of her time in the kitchen creating her hair care formulas from scratch. So this is a new tradition that she has, because they said the rules were not good enough for you. And she said, I don't have a family that handed down these things, traditions. So she said the new tradition was this pound cake. And she said, I used for inspiration, the ingredients that my mother used, the main ingredients my mother used in her hair care products, which was rose water, coconut oil, and honey. And honey, those ladies loved that pound cake. It was to die for. Olivia was the first one, and she was like, she couldn't even take it anymore. She walked off with that plate, with that cake on it, slice of cake, as happy as a flea. And you know what? No, let me stop. That's a pig in, you know what? She was happy. So, Angela got plus for that. But what happened? Her sister decides to tell her at that moment, I spoke to my mother and I spoke to daddy, and he told me that he got your mother the best attorneys in Boston to let her out. So there's no logic for him having her arrested. And she, Angela was like, well, she was pregnant with me, his illegitimate child, and keeping her from going to the press or ruin her reputation. She's like, et cetera, et cetera. And, Leah's looking at her like, really? She said, that seems a bit extreme, and the only reason, that I took the risk of asking was to settle the past and bring our families closer and move us forward. And she's like, well, we need the truth to move forward. And my mother was hurt. And Leah's like, so was mine, in case you've forgotten. And she's still hurting. So Leah just said, look, let's leave this alone for now, and she walked away from her. But no, Angela just couldn't leave well enough alone. She called Leah back and said, until I find out exactly what happened to Mama Eve, I'm looking under every rock. I will turn this island over and shake it out if I have to. I owe that to her. And Leah looked at her like, okay. And then I like this when they switched over to Raymond, apologized to Tyrique, about, their past or whatever. And he said I got to say, I was never cruel to you in school. He said, the truth is, I was always covering for Jack. Tyrique says, so that's who you decided to become friends with? He said, I had to because of our close family ties. He said, I didn't even know that I could choose my own friends. So he admitted that he did report Jack back then in boarding school anonymously. He said that's how he got expelled. He said, I thought he just transferred schools. He said that's what they call expelled when your family writes a generous check. That's the truth. Rich people write a check. So he told him, don't let your loyalties to Teddy ruin you because you're a good, solid dude. But at that moment, Teddy walks over there and Tyrique kind of makes this face like, oh, Teddy, I got those papers for you from Jack, Should I bring him over tonight? He said, yeah, do that for me. And thanks for looking out. Or something like that. Teddy's like, thanks. And then he just goes about his business. He slaps Raymond on the shoulder and keeps it moving. Raymond looks at Tyrique like, wow, dude. And he just kind of walks away from him. And Tyrique got this smug-like look on his face. Then it switches over to the bidding part. And they're bidding, on who the 5 people who would get that spot. And so when it was Angela's time, it was a split decision. And Madam President, Olivia said, Madam President, it's up to you to make the final decision on if she gets the 5th and final spot. And Teddy is standing in the back looking at her, staring at her. And, well, Leah did what happened, what she did, she put up the black spoon instead of the lavender spoon, and Angela didn't get picked, and she ran out of there with her daughter. And, she did what her daddy asked. But I think with Angela pushing so hard, if Angela would have went along and just let that go and let it be until after she got the spot, I think she would have gotten in. But she kind of rubbed Leah the wrong way, I think. Now, the ending part was really touching to me. All of the ending parts touched me in a little bit. One, Tyrique ended up actually meeting with Raymond and giving him some of the paperwork. And he said he had to make sure he brought something to Raymond. That way it wouldn't look suspicious. But he said as long as he didn't have any paperwork with Jack's signature on it, he can't take over your company. He said, but you triggered something in me when you said about my loyalties. And he said my father's loyalties, it cost him for being loyal to Teddy. He said, I'm done with him. He said, nah, don't be done with him. You make a good inside guy. He said, for who? For you? He said, no, for us. He said, how about we become partners? He's messing with both our lives and we could take him down together. He said, and make a lot of money doing it. And he said, I'm in, and they shook hands, And then Tyrique went to see Eve to see how she was doing because he heard that she didn't make it, the cut. And he knew how bad she wanted the Gracities. So he just wanted to know if she was okay, And I thought that was so sweet because they had been having a rocky relationship, but him just coming in there had to mean a lot to her. And she, he said, I'm going through a lot with what happened with my father. And I know I've been pushing you away and I've been absent and stuff. But he said, I have a new way of dealing with my anger. And before he could finish, he just went over to her and kissed her. He planted one on her lips and stuff. And she said, thank you for sharing that with me. And we'll talk later. So that was nice. That was beautiful. And it was sweet. And then they showed Raymond burning up the pages of those documents so Teddy couldn't take over his company. And you see Leah coming in there looking at him with tears rolling down her eyes. And he's like, baby, what's wrong? And she just hugs him. She feels so bad for what she did to Angela, what she did to her sister because of her father. And she's riddled probably with guilt. I don't know how this is going to work out next week and next episode, but hopefully something will change. So she gets inside and tells Nate, well, I didn't get no incubator. I didn't get no Gracities. She tried to get into those two different things. And he said, well, it didn't end there. He said, Piggy left you a note. And Piggy left a note saying that she was going to turn herself in at the precinct. So that broke Angela down. She just cried in Nate's arms. So that was how it ended. I hope you guys like this recap. I hope y'all liked the episode. Hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about this episode. And for those of you who haven't done it yet, another reminder, please subscribe to my channel. This is your girl, Barbie J, saying peace.